So the movie begins with your average teenager with the superpower of being invisible to girls. His words, not mine. Also, relatable. He has this thing though, an obsession for being a superhero. Well, kinda explains how this guy sure has a lot of issues, especially his infatuation with older women and his lifelong partnership with Kleenex, if you know what I mean. Dude needs to chill. Anyway, after being bullied one day, he decides he's going to reinvent himself as a superhero with the name Kick Butt. Yeah, I gotta censor it these days. So he orders this ridiculous scuba diving costume, but blatantly forgets to order the superpowers and fighting skills as well. So the villains he wants to fight beat the crap out of him. So I guess this is how he dies. In the next scene, we see a father teaching his daughter how to take a shooting to the chest. Yes, also not in the fun way. Wait, she's wearing a bulletproof vest. The father is not a maniac, but there's obviously something weird about these guys because the girl uses the F word with her dad, and he does not say language or anything like that. And for her birthday, she wants some kind of military-grade equipment. By the way, if you haven't noticed yet, that's Nicolas Cage. In the weeks following the start of his new vocation, our new superhero wants to prepare. Well, if we can call futile attempts at doing anything remotely superhero preparation, one of these days he stumbles on his bullies again, where they are attempting to jack a car. He decides to move from fantasizing to actually engaging, so he changes into his ridiculous outfit and makes the move to attack them. Of course, he gives them a good laugh, because superheroes are only taken seriously in their movies. In real life, you're just a maniac. And so the fight begins, but it hardly lasts 5 minutes. No, Kick Butt didn't kick any butt, even with a baton in his hand. He did get a few hits, but the guys beat him up real good, and then one of them stabbed him. Just as he was kneeling over in pain, a car comes and knocks him unconscious, as if to add salt to the injury. What a day for a superhero. In the next scene, we're taken to the home of this criminal kingpin, Frank. Dave and his friends tried making friends with his son, Chris, earlier, but Chris's bodyguard replied to their request with 2 words that rhyme with jerk off. Back to the present. So one day, one of Frank's workers comes to see him at his home about a matter. Another of Frank's workers was going behind his back and selling his substances to his Russian customers at half price. Problem is, they already killed said worker when they thought he was defrauding Frank. What's more interesting is that said worker, Trey, had tried to explain that the substances he was sent to deliver was jacked by a Batman type of dude who's probably now selling the stuff at half price and stealing Frank's Russian customers. But that sort of thing is hard to believe, and so they pinched off his last finger and clapped him. Meanwhile, Frank's son, Chris, is trying unsuccessfully to get his father to include him in the family business. He also seems to enjoy fantasizing and role-playing about one day when he's going to be a bad guy like his daddy. Like, dude, you're going to be 18 in a few months. Go apply for college and prepare for student debts. That will grow with you till you're old and gray like normal people your age. But then again, your father is rich. So I guess that explains all the time you have on your hands. Now back to our superhero, Dave. He's back from the hospital and back to school. One of the after effects of the hospital and the accident turns out to be that some of his nerve endings are now messed up. So now he feels almost zero pain. Awesome. Wouldn't mind having those messed up nerve endings for my heart. Unfortunately, rumor going around school now is that Dave likes the company of men, and that's because he was mugged and his clothes were stripped from him. Well, actually, he begged the EMT to strip him off his clothing and throw them away because he didn't want anyone to know he was Kick Butt. Well, it turns out that didn't exactly put him in the safety zone, because now everyone thinks he's fruity, and you know how high schoolers can be. Anyway, messed up nerve endings Dave is ready to bring on Kick Butt version 2.0. So one day, he goes out to do superhero work. At first, he tries to find a lost cat, but then the universe brings him in contact with this gang fight. It's a scene to watch, and people video the scene and upload it to the internet. Of course, just like that, it goes viral. It's always like that in Hollywood movies. Anything they want to go viral goes viral, just because the filmmaker says so. Anyway, now everyone's talking about Kick Butt. He's got merch in stores, thousands of followers, and he's also got the attention of that weird dad we talked about, and the kingpin, Frank. In the middle of all that, he finally gets to have coffee with his longtime crush, Kate. Problem is, she thinks he's not into girls, so the only reason she asked him out for coffee was because she had always wanted to have a friend like him. Just amazing. Anyway, Kate has a request for Kick Butt, but she's not sure if she should email him. Dave talks her into messaging Kick Butt, though obviously because he's thinking with his nether regions instead of his brain. What was Kate's request? She needed him to send a message to her addict ex-boyfriend, Razul, that they were through. The next day, Kick Butt goes on his mission. This is the shadiest place ever, and he's outnumbered almost 10 to 1, but he goes there, running his mouth like a faulty tap. At first, he tases Razul, but that only makes the guy angry, and he's about to teach Kick Butt a lesson when our little girl shows up and delivers a knife through his heart. Now, he did, and the fight ensues. Our little girl beats the living crap out of all the guys in the room, and I'm pretty sure she's like 7. I don't understand why the other guys didn't just not confront her. You can see she's clapping all your guys like flies, but everyone always wants to be the hero. After the fiasco at Razul's place, the little girl introduces herself as Hit Girl. Apparently her dad also came with her on the operation. He's called Big Daddy. Lovely. But here's the thing, he's wearing a Batman outfit, which means that he's the one that stole the goods from Frank's worker, Trey, and sold it to the Russians for half price. The encounter with Hit Girl kind of leaves Kick Butt disoriented for a bit. I guess realizing that he could have almost died, if not for the little girl really demoralized him. So he goes home defeated and cries himself to sleep. Meanwhile, big trouble is brewing for him over at Frank's place. So there's a big issue on Frank's hands now. Nearly all his men on the streets are dead, killed by Big Daddy and Hit Girl. Problem is, though, the only photo evidence they have from the killings is a picture of Big Daddy, taken from the back, and not with a lot to go on. Unfortunately for Dave, Frank and his worker think this is the work of Kick Butt. So now Kick Butt has a target on his back. That night, Big Daddy and Hit Girl show up in his bedroom. Apparently they're all friends now, and he can reach out to them whenever he needs their help, which he will pretty soon, seeing as there's a bounty on his head. One day, Big Daddy and Hit Girl are out doing whatever it is they do on a regular day. This police officer enters their house and finds this comic that tells us the backstory of Big Daddy and Hit Girl. Apparently, Big Daddy used to be a cop. He had one partner called Marcus, one job to rid New York of all the bad guys, and one nemesis called Frank. One day, Frank concocted a plan to frame Big Daddy and lock him up in jail for 5 years. While Big Daddy was there, his pregnant wife clapped herself. Luckily, the baby girl survived, and Marcus looked over her as legal guardian while Big Daddy was in jail. Throughout his time in jail, Big Daddy worked out like crazy and got buff. At least that's what the comic says, because this guy doesn't look buff in real life to me at all. After his prison sentence, he's ready to get back at Frank, and he starts preparing his daughter to be his sidekick. Turns out the police officer who broke into Big Daddy's house was his former partner, Marcus. Marcus came to tip Big Daddy off that one of Frank's pawns in the police department is now on his tail. But of course, Big Daddy, whose name we find out is actually Damon, is hell-bent on getting his revenge. In the next scene, Frank is going out and then he finds Kick Butt. He gets his driver to pull up and then beats the heck out of him and shoots him dead. Problem is, he got the wrong Kick Butt. The guy he clapped turned out to just be an impersonator. Awesome. Now Frank's on edge. He's eating salt through his nose and panicking. Just then, Chris comes up with an idea. He's going to befriend Kick Butt by pretending to be a superhero too, and then he can lure him and bring him into his father. Maybe after that, his father would finally allow him to take part in the business. Meanwhile, how are things going with Dave and Kate? Well, Kate still thinks that Dave swings a different way. Dave's friends think he should let her know she's mistaken, but Dave just wants to enjoy being around her. While they're still talking, Kate walks into the coffee shop where they're at and brings up a conversation about a new superhero on the block called Red Mist. Everybody thinks Red Mist is so cool, and he gets Kick Butt super jealous. That night, he gets a message from Red Mist asking to meet up. If you haven't figured it out by now, Red Mist is Chris. Anyway, so Red Mist and Kick Butt meet up, and Red Mist is gushing and fawning about Kick Butt, even requesting to be his sidekick. Of course, Kick Butt is feeling important now, which was what Red Mist wanted from the get-go. So now they are friends and whatnot. That same night, Red Mist tells Kick Butt about some fake crimes alert he got. Meanwhile, he's leading him straight to Frank. When they get to Frank's warehouse, they find it's been set on fire, and all men on the ground have been clapped. Frank arrives at the warehouse where he'd hoped to find Chris with Kick Butt. Instead, he sees his building on fire and wonders what the heck is going on. When Red Mist gets back home from the operation, he informs his dad that it isn't Kick Butt he should be worried about. Apparently, Chris had put a nanny cam at the warehouse before the operation to capture the unmasking of Kick Butt, so he could share it on the internet. The footage from the cam proves what Trey said. Some guy in a Batman costume was behind all this. Marcus alerts his friend that Frank is now onto him, but that only serves to push Big Daddy to want to end Frank faster. Dave, on the other hand, is growing more miserable by the minute and finally decides that it's time to put all the superhero nonsense to an end. He needs to do one more thing though, before he can say bye-bye to Kick Butt. Can you guess? Of course, he wants to come out to Kate first. Like, come out as Kick Butt, not come out as Fruity, because he's obviously not that. So that night, he sneaks into Katie's room and tells her everything. She first clobbers him with everything she can find, but she eventually forgives him and invites him to spend the night. So I guess they are now a thing and stuff. For a while, Dave stays off the Kick Butt thing, but one day he checks the website and finds that he has an urgent message from Red Mist, asking to meet. Contrary to his initial plan, he picks up Kick Butt for one last time and meets up with Red Mist. Red Mist lies to Kick Butt that Frank and his guys are after them in order to get him to spill about the other superheroes, aka Big Daddy and Hit Girl. As recommended by Big Daddy initially, Kick Butt puts up on his website that he's on vacation, and Big Daddy tells him to meet at Safe House B. And so Red Mist and Kick Butt start to drive to the place with Frank trailing them. Barely 10 seconds after Red Mist and Kick Butt meet Big Daddy and Hit Girl, Frank's guys bust through the door, shoot down Hit Girl, and then capture Big Daddy and Kick Butt. Their plan? To clap both of them via live broadcast in order to send a public service message. Being a superhero is bad for you. They messed up these guys for real. I gotta tell you, even took a baton to Dave's favorite body part. But then just as the bad guys are about to literally roast Big Daddy and Kick Butt, Hit Girl steps in and saves them as Big Daddy screams instructions like someone who's suffering from brain damage. It's super unrealistic though, and the flickering lights are doing my head in, but it's a Hollywood movie, so it's not entirely surprising. Hit Girl saves the day, but unfortunately she's unable to save her dad. The business now done, Hit Girl and Dave drive home together. Mind you, Hit Girl is the one driving. Dave tries to convince her to give up the whole superhero thing and have a normal life. Hit Girl isn't so sure though. She has $3 million in a suitcase, so she's good. Plus she wants to finish what she started with her dad, so she co-ops Dave and they set out to get their pound of flesh. Hit Girl dresses up as a schoolgirl and makes her way into Frank's place. After clapping nearly all of Frank's guys, again, very unrealistic, she runs out of ammo and is now backed into a corner. One of Frank's guys brings out a bazooka ready to blow Hit Girl's brains out. But just then, Kick Butt literally flies in on a jetpack and exterminates all the bad guys. So now it's Hit Girl and Kick Butt versus Frank and Chris. Chris takes on Kick Butt, while Hit Girl takes on her dad's nemesis. The fight between the two groups lasts several minutes, but you can tell Chris and Kick Butt are amateurs. The moves aren't so great, and both of them black out before you know it. The fight between hit girl and Frank though, ruthless. As in, no one is playing. Frank is hitting this girl with everything he has. It's a miracle she hasn't died yet, because that tiny body shouldn't be able to handle this level of battery. Anyway, Frank has her down, and is just right then prepared to deliver the final shot that claps her, but of course, Hollywood style, he can't just shoot. He must deliver one-liners, and the likes. So while Frank is doing that, Kickbutt finds the time to regain consciousness and shoot him with the bazooka, and that's how he dies. Rip in peace. In the final scene, Dave and Mindy, Hit Girl, become friends. Dave leaves the superhero life behind and focuses on kissing his girlfriend every chance he gets. Mindy, on the other hand, is taken in by Marcus, her father's former partner. As for Chris, he remains a tights-wearing douche who wants revenge on Kickbutt for the death of his father. Moral of the story? I don't know. I need a new catchphrase.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications bell for more video. God bless you all.